If you want inspiration for your next outdoors trip, then keep listening to hear my trip report to the highest waterfall in the Lake District. Hello and welcome to this episode of the Outdoors Adventure Podcast. I'm Rob, I'm your host, and if you are one of the amazing amount of new listeners that this podcast seems to have picked up in the last 2 weeks, then thank you and welcome. Yeah, I'm not too sure what's happened, but yeah, the listening figures of the podcast over the last couple of weeks have been amazing. We seem to have picked up probably about 20% more listeners than we have done in previous months. So that's fantastic. The interview with Daniel McNeil went really well. In fact, in terms of the listener numbers, it's sort of tracking to be one of the best ever episodes. It got retweeted a couple of times by the charity, so I'm wondering whether that has something to do with it. But yeah, it's gaining really good traction, and listener figures overall, in terms of listening to all the other episodes, are looking really, really good. So if you are one of those new listeners, welcome along. Each week I bring you something different from the outdoors world. In week 1 of the month, I bring a interview, which the latest one is with Daniel McNeil, who's currently walking around the perimeter of the UK. So go back and listen to that one if that sounds interesting to you. In week 2, I bring any outdoors news that could be of interest to you. In week 3, which is this week, I bring a trip report from various parts across the UK, doing various different activities, giving you inspiration for your next trip. This week we have a trip report from Scale Force, which is the highest waterfall in the Lake District. Now, I've completed the Wainwrights, and I like to feel like I've trekked many, many square miles of the Lake District. And there's very few places I've not been to, but in fact, I've not been to Scale Force before. I thought I had, but when I got there, I realised I hadn't been there before. So yeah, it is a new one for me, and hopefully it will be of interest to you and give you some inspiration for your next trip. And then in week 4, I cover lots of things like the events for the following month that could interest you. I do film reviews, book reviews, a bit more update on competitions, etc. Talking of which, we do have a competition running at the moment. All you have to do is leave us a review on the app of your choice. Now, the best one to leave a review on is Apple, because you can actually leave a written review, which is really important for sharing the podcast, making it more visible and getting it out there to more listeners. If you leave us a review, you will be automatically entered into the prize draw, which will be drawn on the 23rd of August, and the winner will receive 2 free books of their choice from the Cicerone Press. Any books of your choice, and that's all you have to do. Just leave us a review, and you're good to go. They're also giving us a discount code to run alongside the competition. So if you go to their website and enter the discount code Outdoors Adventure 15, that's Outdoors Adventure 15. You'll get 15% off your purchase. So let's crack on with the episode then. We join me from Buttermere, where we start the walk to Scales Force. Hello, and welcome to another trip report. And today I am coming from the Lake District, and I'm doing a walk to the highest waterfall in the Lake District, starting at Buttermere Village. I'm doing a walk to Scale Force. It is the highest waterfall in the Lake District, like I mentioned already. 3 successive waterfalls of 170 foot, 20 foot and 20 foot. And I started my walk today from Buttermere Village. And I've done like a mini loop at the beginning. I'm going to go back over a pack horse bridge, which I'm just walking past now. I've started my walk by taking in Lake Buttermere as well. So I parked up by St James's Church. For those of you who know Buttermere, you'll know there's some free parking just up from the village over the Newlands Pass. Parking by the roadside. So I parked there for free. I walked down. It's a Tuesday afternoon, and Buttermere is as busy as ever. It's a popular village, isn't it, Buttermere? It's tiny. There's nothing there, but it's probably my second most favourite valley, I would say, in the Lake District, just due to how remote it feels. Obviously, it's extremely picturesque. Probably hear some sheep bleating. I'm recording this in May, so it's like high season for lambs, isn't it? Well, the sheep seem to be very vocal when the lambs are about. So anyway, I parked at Buttermere and I took the left-hand side path that goes past the Buttermere Court Hotel. Used to be known as the Fish. Opposite Sykeside campsite, which was, I think, one of the first campsites I stayed in the Lake District. So it holds one of those memories for me of like pure adventure. From this new place that I'd only been to once or twice and never stayed at before. I got a bus. I got the train to Windermere, and then buses all the way through to Buttermere, because I don't think I drove at the time. I think I must have been sort of late teens, 18, 19, something like that. And it's just one of those senses of pure adventure that you get. And it still brings back those memories. And obviously back then, that was 20 years ago nearly. It wasn't all card payments like it is now. You just rocked up at the campsite, hoped that there was room, and then someone would come around in the morning and get your fiver off you. I think it was about a fiver. Obviously a lot's changed since then. The Fish Hotel was changed since then. It's now the Buttermere Court Hotel. I've never been in since it changed. It looks lovely, but the Fish again held lots of character for me. It wasn't the nicest of places, but it's where I made quite a few hiking friends on a drunken night in there once. And we were all in there. And then you've got the Bridge House Hotel, of course, which is incredibly popular. The beer garden was full. I walked past and it's only 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And the church campsite, obviously Sykeside Farms expanded a little bit since 20 years ago. It was just a campsite then. Maybe they had a little tea room. But now there's quite a big tea room, ice cream cafe. And as with all things, this feels a lot less remote than it once did. 20 years ago when I got the bus here, and now I think I camped there for a week. Then it was horrendous. I was young, free and single then, and now with responsibility everything seems a lot smaller and less remote. I camped there for a week. I think the only thing I got done was red pike in the entire week I was staying in the Lake District. Red pike's the only top that I did, and it was just an hour back in horrendous conditions. But anyway, today, taking the track along Court Hotel, and I've taken in Lake Buttermere, and I've taken a fork right. Oh, there's a deer. Hello, 2 deers. 2 deers just run out right in front of me. It's a bit of a rarity in the Lake District. You don't see too many. See them in Scotland a bit more regularly. They just run right out across the path in front of me, about 20 feet in front of me. Anyway, what was I saying? Oh yeah, I've taken a full right in the path. Oh, and there's a herd of cows following me. 1, 2, 8 cows following me. And I'm currently walking along the shores of Crummock Water. And it's about an hour walk from Buttermere. So I shall update a bit closer. There you go. Just as I stopped the last recording, a couple came towards me with 4 dogs, questioning me about the cows. I think they thought I was with them. Are the cows following you? They said. A bit concerned about it, I think. I thought, well, they seem to be. Don't know why. They've got 4 dogs in them, so you're concerned about the dogs. I seem to be a little bit concerned about the dogs. And I said there's no young with the cows, so it should be fine. And they seem quite friendly and tame. Lots of people wary of cows, aren't they? I've never really had an issue with them. They're a bit unnerving when there's like a whole field of them and you've got to walk through them, because they just sort of seem to look at you, don't they? They're always very nosy, I think. I've only ever had one incident with a cow, and it was sort of looked like it was trying to scare me, sort of making itself big and stamping up the ground and looking at me. It was near Shap, on the eastern reaches of the Lake District, but I just sort of ignored it, just walked around it, and it didn't really do much, so I haven't really had an issue with them. Anyway, like I said, I'm doing this walk in May, and I'm just getting towards the end of the bluebell season. And the bluebells dotted all along the banks of Cromwell Water. And I realised I'm opposite Ranadale Knots, which is where those massive bluebell fields are. I've driven past Ranadale Knots and I was looking at the lower slopes. And there didn't really seem to be any bluebells out, but I'm getting towards the end of the season for bluebells now anyway. These ones around here looking a bit weak and tired, and they're growing there. So anyway, walking along the shores of Cromwell Water, and surrounded by these big, beautiful mountains. I think sometimes lower level walks are underrated, but then maybe it's because I've done them, done lots of high level ones, and maybe I'm getting a bit old and tired. So yeah, the Scales Force walk will take about 2 hours out and back. As always with these sort of walks, you can link them onto longer walks. You can go up onto Red Pike, do a full circle onto High Pike, I think it's the next one, to Haystack, past the Bothy, Scale Bothy. I can't remember the fell's name now with the mines on it. What's the fell called there? I can't remember. I've not got my ice map on me, so can't check. And then back down into the valley, past Buttermere. You can go up onto Millbrake, I think is the only waypoint on that side of Scales Force. So there's always extensions you can do with walks like this. I was just thinking back to my Buttermere memories as well. I brought the family to Sykeside Farm campsite a few years ago. I think I just had my little boy at the time, didn't have my little girl. So it must have been 4 or 5 years ago now. I remember having a picnic by the lake. It's a 15-minute walk from the campsite. Just sort of brings back those family memories when you come somewhere that you've not been for a while. So the recommended time to take towards Scales Force is about an hour. So about an hour there and back, or 2 hours there and back. I've been walking for about 35 minutes. I followed the track along the far side of Cromwell Water, and just started to veer off from it. So the path sort of winds its way left between Millbrake and Red Pike. So I think I'm probably near the bottom of it now. You can't say I didn't pre-warn you. I think I found it. Yeah, wow. Wow. It's gorgeous.
and dramatic and steep and everything you'd expect it to be. I thought I'd been here before, but I don't think I have. This doesn't ring any bells. I've not come up Red Pike this way. You soon find out why it's called Red Pike when you turn the corner to get to Scales Force, and the rocks for some reason turn red. Obviously where it's got its name from. I'm stood at the bottom of Scales Force now, and it took me 55 minutes. And there we go. To get here. And wow, oh my word, beautiful. And I think the nice thing about this is how secluded it is. I was saying how busy Buttermere is. But as soon as you turn right to get to the tractor here, I've seen about 4 people all the way here, and there's no one here now. I'm on my own. And I think it's probably because, you've got lots of waterfalls and pretty much next to the road you can get easy access to. Air Force, not far from here. Whereas this one, you've got to walk a couple of miles and an hour with your time to come and find it. But I would say this is most certainly worth it. It's how steep the sides are as well. I mean, it's like a gorge in here. It's like its own little ecosystem. You've got trees somehow growing out the side of these cliffs, and how they find a way to do that always amazes me. There's a steep track that goes up to the left of the waterfalls, up onto the Red Pike. I'm not going to take that today. Looks like there could be a little scramble up past the waterfall. I might give that a go. Perhaps not recommended for those not into scrambling. Looks a bit slippy, even for me. Hopefully the sound you can hear really does this justice. Quite how beautiful it is. Imagine on a really hot day getting in, that would be amazing. So weirdly, I've made the decision to scramble up the side of the waterfall. It's not actually as difficult or as slippy as it looks. I wouldn't recommend it for those who aren't into scrambling or comfortable with scrambling. You wouldn't really want to slip here. If you did, you'd certainly know about it. And you're a long way from help. Anyway, I've scrambled up. It's past the sort of first, the smaller waterfall, but wider, to get to the higher waterfall. It's thinner, more dramatic, I'd say. Weirdly, it's a bit quieter here. I mean, it's not echoing around like the gorge it was at the bottom. It's worth the scramble up if you're comfortable with it. It really gets you inside the gorge and really close to the higher waterfall. But I am recording this in a bit of a precarious position. So like I say, if you're not particularly comfortable, give it a miss. You can still catch all the beauty from the bottom. Yeah, now I'm in here, it's like you're in a different world. I cannot believe I'm in the Lake District in England. You really feel like you're on a bit of an adventure. It's beautiful. So I spent about 15-20 minutes at Scales Force, just admiring it. I thought I'd been there before, and honestly, I've got to be honest with myself. I actually don't think I have. I must have walked past it, because I definitely did mail break from Buttermere. So I must have walked past it. Mail break was one of the first ones I did. It's about to know it was there. Just goes to show really, doesn't it? It was a long time ago. The internet wasn't such a big thing when I started the Waymites, so researching things were a bit more difficult perhaps. Anyway, as you approach Scales Force from Buttermere, there's a fork in the path that I took to the left, and it wasn't a particularly well trodden track. And on my way up to Scales Force, I noticed on the opposite side of the brook there was probably a better track really to take down So I took that one down, which took me a little bit further round Comet Water, which meant I was a bit further along on the opposite side of Vanadale Knot, which is roughly where the bluebells are, and I can see them now. I just drove past them before, and from the opposite side of the lake to them, and I can still see them. So they are out still, and it looks busy because it's obviously a popular tourist area. And I'm very surprised actually how quiet this trek's been. I've been out for a couple of hours, and albeit it's a Tuesday afternoon, I'm on my way back from working in Whitehaven and Workington for the day. So it's not a weekend, but considering that's the highest waterfall in the Lake District, I'm surprised that I've only seen about 4 people all day, and I was there for 20 minutes. I was on my own, no one turned up at all. Like I say, you don't feel like you're in England when you're in that tiny little corner of the Lake District. It does feel unique, certainly different to anywhere I've been before, similar in terms of the grandeur of the waterfall, but it's a lot tamer with the boardwalks there, and you've got to pay to get into them. It always grinds me when you've got to pay to do things in nature. Like the waterfalls at Ingleton Waterfalls, I've never ever been there, never done them, probably never will, so long as they charge. I think it's quite a lot, I can't remember, I looked at it once. Charging you to go for a walk up the waterfall. Yeah, it doesn't. I understand it's conservation as well, but it doesn't seem right to me. It's a lot less tame this side of the lakes. What I'm trying to say, I'm not getting my words out very well here. What I'm trying to say is, if you take the track from Buttermere and you turn left after getting to the end of, in between the lakes of Buttermere and Comet, and you do a circular of Buttermere, it's a well kept track. From memory, I would almost say it's buggy friendly. Almost, from memory. It's been a long time since I did a circular of Buttermere, but it's a very well kept track. As I turn right, obviously, to go past Comet Water up to Scales Force, and it's a lot more rugged. It's not well kept at all. It's boggy in places, and it just feels a lot more wild and remote than the more touristy areas. Like I say, Buttermere was packed, the village was packed, and that short walk from the village down to Lake Buttermere was busy. There was lots of people, but you can sort of tell they're not, they're literally just walking to the lake and back, like a 20-minute walk. And as soon as you turn right down Comet, everyone disappears. I saw 2 deers, followed by a herd of cow, and then saw about 4 people. So I'm just on my trek back now. I'm going to take the Packhorse Bridge, which will take me past Sykeside campsite, as opposed to the way out that I came past the Buttermere Court Hotel. So 2-hour trek. Highest fell, what am I talking about? Highest waterfall in the Lake District on a nice sunny May afternoon. Oh, that's another thing, it's actually quite warm today, which is nice. It's been the longest winter. 2023 shall be remembered by me as being an incredibly long winter. It's nice to get out walking in the sun for a bit. Get a bit of a sweat on, except for when you're ever the professional, obviously the phone call as I was talking into my phone. Except for the little gorge that you stand in to look at Scales Force. It's nice and cool in there. The sun never reaches in there really. So it's been a good day, good afternoon out. Scales Force, if you're not visited, I think you could hear it in my voice how beautiful it was when I was there. It is a recommended walk from the Outdoors Adventure podcast.
So thank you for listening to this episode of the Outdoors Adventure Podcast. I hope you enjoyed it. Next week, I'll be bringing you all the events from August that would be of interest to you and a film review too. Please do leave that review if you can. Not only will you be entered into the podcast, get my words out. Not only will you be entered into the competition, but it really does help increase the visibility of the podcast. And the more people that see this, the more people will listen, the better guests we can invite onto the show. So please do leave that review. See you next time.